I'd like to call to order the December 1st meeting of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. Nadia, could we please have a roll call?
John Black.
Here.
Pat Darcy.
Here.
Raymond Layton.
Here.
Marshall Ballard.
Here.
Margie Dunn. Here. Travis Oakley.
Here.
Sonny Aluso.
Sonny, are you here?
I'm here.
We have quorum.
We have a quorum. Okay, the first item of the agenda is approval of the minutes of October as well as November. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? And now is the time to make any addenda to them. Everybody having read it and reviewed it, I would like to have a motion to approve the minutes as so provided to us.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes October the 6th as written.
And it also includes 11-3.
I'm going to do 11-3 too. And 11-3.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. All of those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Do we have
Opposed?
Yeah, I think we have to do a roll call. Again,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, which you can't see.
Okay. May we have a roll call, please?
Yeah. John Black.
Here, aye.
Pat Darcy.
Aye.
Raymond Layton.
Yes.
Marshall Ballard.
Here.
Margie Dunn.
Yes.
Travis Oakley.
Yes.
Sonny Aluso.
Here.
I note that the motion passes unanimously. Now on to new business. The first item on the agenda is the Nolan Commercial Contractors, Thomas Engineering, are requesting final subdivision plan approval for the Lakeview Phase 3, a proposed 65-lot planned unit development, PUD. This section of the multi-phase development is located on a combined 31.51 approximate acres in the R8 residential district. The site is located to the west of Old Airport Road, Ward 3. Staff review, please. Mr. Director, can you provide us with the staff review?
Sure. I think the first point's already in your presentation, Mr. Chair. It's a subdivision, final subdivision approval here that received their preliminary approval in January of 2019. Average lot size is just shy of 13,000 square feet, about 2,500 square feet, linear feet of new roads approximately. We've got 8.5 acres of common areas and will be served by the city. Here is your location here, just underneath Betty Grisham's, West Thurman Road here, Old Airport. We got this new section coming in. You've seen in your packet, the copy of the subdivision was provided to you. Meets all our rules and regulations of the city. Public Works has approved the bond, so we are recommending that you approve this final plat.
Is there any discussion amongst our members here concerning this development?
So the city attorney has also approved the bond, or is it?
That's standard language for us, but yes, city attorney does approve the bonds when we have to, but it's Public Works essentially.
Okay.
And it's already been accepted.
Okay, so it already
Yeah.
has been.
We're good.
That's good.
Does the applicant wish to address this board concerning the approval?
No, sir, not unless you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you, John. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I do. Do we have any common areas in any of this? Any green spaces for these?
Yeah, it was 8 some acres,
How much?
8 some acres. It was up there on the slide.
It's on the outside, right?
Yeah, it was on the slide.
It's 8.4
Pretty-
or something.
Yeah.
we're here.
Oh.
And, right.
All 3 sections together was quite a bit more
Yeah.
than just 8 acres. This is the last section of the Party Farms development.
Yeah, I've been watching them cleaning it up, all the grading.
Is there any member of the public that wishes to make comments on this development? Are there any members of the public here that wish to speak against the approval of this development? Having heard none, it comes back to the board. Are there any further questions from anyone on this development?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the final plan for Lakeview Phase 3 as presented to us in the application.
We have a motion. Is that motion seconded?
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Nadia, can you conduct a roll call for us,
Yeah.
please?
Don Black,
Yay.
Pat Dorsey,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes?
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluso,
Yes.
The chairman would like to note that this motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is consideration of an application to rezone one parcel totaling 2.36 acres approximately from the I-2 industrial district to an I-1 industrial district. The parcel is located at 3498 Martin Drive and is further identified as Craven County Parcel 8-208-147, and this parcel is located in Ward 6. Mr. Director, can we have the staff review of this, please?
Applicant MMJH LLC, care of Mike Hawkins. The applicant is here today. They're requesting a rezoning from our I-2 industrial district to an I-1 industrial district. The site itself is presently occupied. It's an indoor fitness facility and also an appliance parts distributor business on the campus itself. The reason why we're asking for the rezoning here today is the indoor fitness facility, which has been in operation for some time, is not allowed to operate in the I-2 industrial district. So we're requesting this. So they're requesting this rezoning to I-1, which would allow the indoor fitness facility and actually protect some of the neighborhoods from some possibly noxious type uses, and that would be allowed in the I-2, while still providing for the nature of intent of industrial zoning by allowing the distribution, manufacturing, those types of things would still be allowed on the site in the I-1 district. Really I-2, the difference between I-1 and I-2, I-2 would allow really heavy industrial type things like rendering plants, cement factories, things that have dust, odor, noise, those types of things are allowed in I-2. But I-1, that's really the only really big difference here. So this is a look at the site here. We've got Glen Burnie Road, Martin Drive, and the site here. So McCarthy comes across on the other side there. Getting a little more in a fitness facility here, fitness facility.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the distribution is over here also. Site is surrounded by commercial. It's in a larger I-2 site itself. So we have really heavy commercial C3 type. We have the neighborhood type commercial here, C4, and obviously an existing pocket of I-2. The request here is to rezone this one little parcel, I-1 on the interior. Your I-2 industrial district is described there on the PowerPoint. Heavy industrial, heavy commercial type uses. Again, the biggest difference here, clean, quiet manner, which will not be obnoxious to adjacent residential business districts. That's the I-1 district, which I would be really comfortable with rezoning this entire thing to I-1 if it was requested. All the uses in I-1, anything you can really imagine, except for those big, noxious noise, polluting type businesses. Went over the surrounding zoning. It's a hodgepodge. It's a mix from really high intensity commercial industrial to neighborhood type commercials. And again, if we pulled that zoning and out a little more, you got a lot of residential in that area also. Utilities are currently Duke and City of Newbern. It's already a developed site, and our our regional land use plan, suitable for development. Yeah, suitable for development, and it's not located in any floodplains. So staff's recommendation, given the request and the existing uses on site, and that I-1 actually probably protects the character of the community and the neighborhood there more than I-2 does, we would recommend you approve this request to rezone the property. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. The applicant is here, though he's quite wordy. If you ask him a question, just let me know.
I have a question.
I'm not good as you are.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
glad I said with my mouth shut. You did a great job. Thank you, Jim.
If it's already a business that is there,
Yeah.
what is the advantage to
They're
to
not-
changing it? Other than, are they gonna tear it down and use it for something
Well,
else?
technically, they're not allowed to operate under the current zone.
They're in
They've been-
They're in
the
violation.
business in violation of the zoning ordinance.
And that's been going on for how long?
About 3 years. We were unaware of it,
Okay.
and we're trying to down zone it instead of keeping it as a high industrial use. Back, there used to be a plastic plant there that made plastics, so it was an industrial use, but I've been trying to soften it since that area has further developed and changed. I think originally they left it like that because there was industrial businesses in that area, but now there's really no I-2 uses in that whole block there, and maybe we can be the start of all of that changing and not being in the city of Newbern. You can't even see the site. It's turn beside the speedway and drive down to the end of the road.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Isn't it
down
back
at
there where
the
Diamond
end.
Jim's used to be years ago?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
You've been around here a little while.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good thing.
Okay.
So we're just trying to be in compliance, and we were made aware of it, we were unaware of it, so we just want to be following the law the best we can.
Jeff, staff satisfied that adequate parking is on site with the ordinance, or are we grandfathering this and holding on?
We will address that at site plan review. They're gonna have to come back in at site plan. At this point, as you know, we're
Yep.
talking zoning
That's
here. Really looking at that difference between this and this, and the overall,
That was the key question, is we're coming back for site plan review.
That's
So
right.
good. I like it.
so, we did look at it. It does look under park, but, again, existing condition. It looks like they can provide their landscaping buffers pursuant to code, so something that's, we can work with.
Excellent.
If necessary, does the code address a special use permit for this kind of problem?
Not this one specifically, no. Special uses in industrial, usually residential, for the most part.
Are there any other questions concerning this to either Jeffrey or the applicant on this request for zoning change? Having heard none, is anybody in the audience that wants to speak against this proposed zoning change? Having heard none, Nadia, could we please have a roll call?
Motion first.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I make a motion for that.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have it seconded?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a seconded. Nadia, can we please conduct a roll call?
Don Black,
Yes?
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Raymond Layson,
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo,
Yes.
We have a vote and the vote passes. Now we go on to the
Good.
consideration of a request to review the height regulations in R6 zoning district, residential, commercial, waterfront overlay district, and Riverstation mixed-use overlay district from the Board of Aldermen. Mr. Director,
Yes, sir. I'm so excited to bring this to you.
thank you. And we are listening with full attention.
Excellent. So last meeting, we just went over the rules and the regulations, trying to get a good understanding of what the request to us or to you all was the kind of things you should be thinking about, and now we're going back to make some decisions on language. In my memo to y'all, I kind of summed up the 4 questions we need to be asked, we need to be answering based on the direction from the Board of Aldermen. And I'll just kind of go through it, give some, my recommendation, and for discussion on how to address each one of these 4 and meet the intent of what y'all were required to do from the Board of Aldermen. So the first question was, should the maximum height be changed in overlay zones? Where, it says here, but there should be a W there in front of that. And the funny thing is, I reread that memo at least 11 times and still missed that. Where the base flood elevation has increased. If you remember, we talked about the new changes to the flood maps, which added between 1 to 2 feet to the base flood elevation, which required homes that are going to be built in this area, in this residential overlay, waterfront overlay, to have their finished floor be higher. But in the overlay zone, you remember, there's a cap to the height itself of 44 feet from mean high water level. So if you squeeze that box, you really you're reducing the amount of buildable area that they had prior to the new maps. So my recommendation to address this would be to simply push the maximum cap 44 feet up to meet where the bottom came up from the base flood elevation. So it went from 9 to about 11. Does that seem right? Or is it to go from 10 to 11, Raymond, for the most?
Well, in various locations.
Yeah,
but
it's not all
in
the
some
same.
cases, it went from 8 to 9, I think. In some cases, 9 to 10.
Okay.
But almost everywhere, it was a foot.
Almost everywhere was a foot. I thought there may have been a couple of 2-foot, but
There may have been
Yeah.
a few places that went from 8 to 10. I'm not sure any of them were in
In
this
this area.
particular overlay district.
okay. So my recommendation was simply move the cap up from 44 to 45, or we'll double check that that flood map to make sure that we don't have that problem. And if we do, we may just make it a foot anyways. I'm not really sure, but just move it up. So you lost a foot on the bottom, add the foot to the top. So the ordinance would be amended to say, in the height in the residential waterfront overlay district, the maximum height would now be 45 feet.
And that would be excluding any accoutrements.
Correct.
And is that the best language? I thought accoutrements pertain more to clothing. Would we say something like appendage or something like that?
I think
I'll
the
hand it
language is
over.
actually appurtenances, which would be correct.
Yeah, pertinence. Okay,
Appurtenances,
pertinence.
which is correct from an architectural standpoint. So
Yeah.
that's right on point. So that'd be chimneys, gargoyles,
Spires.
anything like that. So it'd be, you were really, what we're talking about is measured to the highest point of the roof of the building. And so excluding any appurtenances. And so I think that language is spot on.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was the first one. You guys want to discuss that, or just go through all 4 first and then discussion?
If they're all 4.
Okay, great. So we can go to the next one. Because the question is, should the overlay district boundary be amended for the Waterfront overlay district? If you remember, we have an area here
That's orphan.
that's well, it's not an orphan. It's got 3 parents.
It's
overparented.
It's helicopter parents. So we got an area here that is in the historic district, in a residential waterfront overlay district, and one more. Is it in Riverstation? No.
It's in, yes, it's in the Riverstation mixed use.
It's in
Historic
Riverstation.
district, and it's in the, and a portion of it is in the residential waterfront overlay.
That's right.
Yeah, that block, that small box.
This
right in
box
front.
right here.
Yeah, it's the one
So-
that's got 3 of them.
This box can be 44 feet from mean high water for height. This box can be 50 feet above finished first floor, which is already up above mean high, already above. So you're looking
Right.
at 60 feet over, 40,
Well,
or
it's current
35
zoning,
feet.
that's right. So
Yeah.
you could rezone it for something different, but that's current zoning, that's
Yeah.
right.
So it makes kind of an odd development. So my recommendation is to simply remove this, this section here from the waterfront overlay district. So essentially make the waterfront overlay height residential district just stop here,
I agree with that.
right? Instead of being this box, which is what it is. So we're gonna have that problem here. If Riverstation gets built, we have this little, even though that's pretty much a wetland, if something happens, we're gonna have an issue where this box has its own little height rules compared to the rest of this.
Right.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is simply cut this box out, leave the rest alone. So that would put,
Yeah, the zoning
This-
takes care of the problem. I mean, the zoning still has the height limitations.
so height would be 50 feet there because it's zoned R6 over finished floor.
So you would have us recommend to the Board of Aldermen to change the district
Boundary.
accordingly, the boundary of the district accordingly.
Yep, and it would take this black box out.
Yeah, slide it back pretty much.
And
in
it would
line
stop
with
at
Queen Street.
Queen Street. The residential waterfront overlay height district, waterfront overlay district, which is a height district, would stop here along Queen.
And that seems like a good natural boundary to me.
Yeah. Okay, that was 2. The next issue we had was with elevating historic structures, which we saw after Florence. We had a lot of, or a handful of property owners come in and request to elevate their homes. A lot of these homes were built on grade, so elevation would take them 6, 7, 8 feet higher, which would put them theoretically over the cap in the residential overlay district, waterfront overlay district. Now, we allowed that to happen because we made a value judgment based on the fact that the city's trying to protect historic structures, and there's only so many times a structure can be flooded before something catastrophic happens to it. So we allowed a few of them to be elevated above the 44 feet. So my recommendation is we actually create language that creates an exception for elevating
Pre-existing structure.
existing structures in the historic district and allow them to go up to the height of, what do we call it, the
Regulatory flood elevation.
regulatory flood elevation,
So-
no higher.
Yeah, I think the way I'd like to see that language written
Yeah.
is that a structure can be elevated, raised is not the right word to use there.
Okay.
A structure can be elevated to meet or to achieve the regulatory flood elevation, but the height of the original height of the structure cannot be changed. In other words, you can add the amount of the regulatory flood elevation, but that doesn't give you a free rein to start adding things to the top of your house, adding height.
You can raise it from the bottom, but not the top.
Yeah.
Well, it's, 6 to 1, half does the other, but it's, you're only allowed that 12 feet. It's not a matter of, or whatever that height is. It's not a matter of, it's not a free rein to just start adding a story to your house or something like that. There's a good way to say that.
Can
I'll
you
work
say
on it.
without changing the integrity of the height of the original house?
No, because it is going to change the original height of the house.
Yeah, no, there's language. I'll figure it out. One of my few gifts. I don't have many, but that's policy language is one of them. I think that's the only one.
Yeah, but I mean, that seems like a fair way to do that. I mean,
Because we do want to maintain the historic buildings.
yeah.
Correct. And we don't want to allow them to elevate. They've got to go up 7 feet, but we only say, well, you can only go up 3.5, which costs a lot of money, and doesn't achieve anything.
Right.
Because you want to be out of the flood zone. Okay, moving on, number 4. So we have the Riverstation mixed-use district. The height language in there is not very specific in that it references the look of Middle Street, and that we have 1.5 and kind of 2.5 story type language in there, which
when you're looking for specificity, that does not provide it. So my recommendation simply is to take all that language out and just add R6 height standards as they apply in the rest of the city would be the Riverstation mixed-use height standard. So 50 feet for residential over first finished floor. So after all the fill is brought in and then you build your home, you're starting measuring 50 feet up from that.
Right.
So would that allow those plans to be built? Or is it still too short?
No, that is what every home in New Bern builds under right now. And then we probably have a couple that tip that 51, 52 feet. That's the rules now.
Well,
But in this particular subdivision that brought
Oh,
That-
Riverstation mixed use? No, it'll, the 2.5 stories?
yeah,
Which-
so there were some instances, I think it was, if it was a single family detached, it was a story and a half.
Yes.
It was a bunch of nebulous language. That's why we've got the height restrictions in the zoning. So we don't need to double up on it by adding language to this overlay district. I mean, if we just remove the height restrictions from the overlay district and allow the zoning to take care of it, then we still accomplish what the zoning ordinance, we're still doing what we set out to do. And then what that also allows is, that allows this area to deal with the flood elevation issue. By using the same thing anybody else that's in the city that is building in a flood zone, you live under the same rules.
That's right. So it really adds a lot of specificity, and I think to answer your question, Margie, it doesn't take away anybody's entitlement.
No, actually, I think it makes that a more desirable property by removing that nebulous restriction that, you know, a story and a half to you is completely different than a story and a half to me,
Yeah,
perhaps.
that is.
And so if you
What
give
does
it a
that
hard
mean?
number that also allows you to deal with flood elevation, then I think that's a good thing.
So, that was the big four. If everybody's cool, very technical planning term there. I'll come back with the language and the amendments in the strike-through underline format, and we'll put those on the next agenda for formal approval. And that'll go for the Board of Aldermen. I think done some great work, and it's sometimes it's difficult to make things more simple and do it fair. But I think y'all have done that with this.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
With the planning that was put before us that kind of brought this whole height thing into play, and they come up with that new language for that specific area, and I can't remember what they called it.
Which one?
That was the HPC language, that was the historic preservation
Yeah,
guidelines,
totally.
that was
Yes.
development frequency or development.
Yeah, whatever, because each one had these little,
Yeah,
I can't remember what
It was a
called.
pattern of development.
That's
pattern
it,
of development,
pattern,
that's
yes,
correct,
yes.
not frequency, pattern.
Yeah.
Will that, making these changes allow that to still continue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Height is not addressed in the historic district standards
That's right.
regardless.
Okay,
So-
other than the story and 1 story or 1.5 story.
That's not historic district language. Historic district is look, form, and rhythm.
Yeah, form, rhythm, massing.
There you
That's what
go.
I remember talking about, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm cool.
So all the actual standards of construction are in the zoning code.
Right.
Is there any further discussion on this matter? Now, as this is not any formal approval they have.
No, I mean, I think if what we spoke about was okay with y'all and on how I'm moving forward, essentially, I'll just go over it real quick, just so we're on the same page again. We're gonna change the maximum height allowed in the residential waterfront overlay. It's currently 44. We're gonna bump that up by the increase in the base flood elevation, which is probably a foot for the most part. So from 44 to 45, and I'll triple check.
And that base elevation is a federal guideline.
So yeah, FEMA
FEMA, yeah.
flood elevation, yes, sir. We will take this box out of the amend the overlay district, the residential waterfront overlay district, to remove this box. So it will now stop at Queen Street. We're gonna add some exemption language for elevations in the waterfront overlay district that allows them to exceed the maximum height if they only elevate
Elevating
from the bottom.
Existing structure.
Existing structure with no modifications to existing structure, something along those lines. Man, I'm really Italian today, boy. And we are gonna remove all the references to stories, 1.5, 2.5, in the Riverstation mixed-use overlay language, and just add a one-liner that says, all height will be R6, all residential height will be governed by R6.
Yeah.
I'll make sure multifamily and all that stuff fits into that, but essentially making a standard instead of this.
Blanket standard for the.
Correct. Yeah. But I think R6 may be some of the highest.
I think it's the highest.
Yeah. C3 gets 60, but that's.
Well, the highest residential.
Yeah,
I think
correct.
is, yeah, R8 is also 50, so is
Yeah.
R10A, but
Yeah.
50 is the
50
highest.
is the highest, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so now we can proceed to item D.
Item D is approval of the calendar. Yes, sir.
Sonny, we're approving the calendar. Do you have any concerns about the calendar for this coming year, 2021?
I always just want to make sure that the first Tuesday in
September.
August is free, because it's,
It's a night out thing that you can.
right, the
Okay.
national night out.
I think Nadia is reviewing the calendar right now,
Even as you speak.
even as we speak. It's on live TV.
Does anybody mind it not being on a Tuesday?
I think we usually make it that's Thursday of that same week, so that we don't interfere with all the meetings and, yeah.
So from the 7th to the 9th.
From the 3rd to
Third
the.
to the 5th.
Thursday, August 3rd to the, yeah.
Sonny, we're proposing moving the August meeting from the 3rd to the 5th. Do you have an issue with that? That's gonna be Thursday.
Thursday.
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
So is everybody happy with that?
I make a motion, we approve the calendar with the change of the August 3rd regular meeting date to August 5th.
We have a motion, is it seconded? Nadia, can we have a roll call, please?
Yeah. Don Black,
Yes?
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes?
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo.
Sonny?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
The motion passes unanimously. Now we go to 2021 Planning and Zoning Board officer elections. Now, there's two officers, chairman and vice chairman, is that correct, Mr. Director? Okay. At this point, do we have any nominations for president?
Chair.
Chair, excuse me.
Plenty of nominations for president, I think.
Does anyone wish to serve as chair?
Can you not stay?
I can stay, but I've got to do this officially, I believe.
Oh, well, I nominate you.
Well, thank you.
I second that.
You don't have any, you don't have any?
I second that.
Oh, too late. I did.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
He started
He was
it.
waiting for that.
All right.
Can we have a roll call, please, Nadia, on that?
Don Black, chair, unprecedented, third time.
Second time.
Second
This is the third time.
You,
That was twice.
It was only second year, isn't it?
That's all.
I think it's second year,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, second.
All right.
It just went on a little longer because of
COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Okay.
Don Black,
Greatest excuse.
Aye.
Pat Darcy,
Aye.
Raymond Layson,
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo,
Yes,
The motion passed. Now we have to consider the election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations for the vice?
I'll nominate Travis Oakley.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please, Nadia?
yep. Don
I
Black,
guess you're accepting.
Travis has an opportunity to speak. All right.
Yeah, and I would like to add that he was very helpful in the difficult zoning problem we had. He served with the local community and developer, and I wholeheartedly vote for him.
Pat Darcy,
Aye.
Raymond Layson,
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo,
yes,
The chair would like to note that the motion passes. Now we go to board member comments, and I would like to open up that in this past year, we lost two very valuable members of our community. The first is, I'd like to talk about is Mr. Sampson, Johnny Sampson. And I've learned a lot about him. He worked very hard with this community. He even took care of AIDS patients during the AIDS crisis in the 1980s. And he did that on his own volition. On top of that, he's always been a champion for the greater Five Points area. And while I might disagree with a lot of his methodology, there's no way I can question the man's integrity. He's very dedicated on those causes, and I think he will be sorely missed by both the community and our region as to his activity. The other one I would like to mention that passed is Dr. Charles Ashford, who his family's been a member of the community. A lot of people might not know this, but during Vietnam he worked as a surgeon in a MASH unit, and he served our country well, and he certainly served this area well. I know him personally because he's a keen gardener, and we used to talk quite frequently about orchid culture as well as different landscaping and whatnot, and I do miss my conversations with him, and this community will sorely miss him as well. Are there any other public comments? Having heard one, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Nadia, could we have a roll call, please?
yep. Don Black,
Yes.
Pat Darcy,
Yes.
Raymond Layson,
Yes.
Marshall Ballard,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Sonny Aluzo.
yes.
The motion passes. We are adjourned.